Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you for joining me today. In this podcast episode, we're going to talk about the energies of Pluto in Capricorn and what is coming up for healing at a soul level. We're going to look at some of the themes of Capricorn as well as the energies of Pluto. We're going to relate it to your natal Pluto in your natal astrology chart. And we're also going to talk about why this is so significant, especially in 2020. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time, energy, and presence for every podcast episode, which I offer for you free on Mondays and Wednesdays. I have been doing this podcast since 2012, and you can find the full library of episodes over on Blog Talk Radio /Molly McCord, pages and pages of topics, also how the show has evolved through the years, certainly, and I hope that there are topics and information that is relevant and supportive for you right now. So as we do this podcast, it's actually June 22nd, 2020, and we're in a turning point energy of the year. And of course, it's been a very big year. It's been a big year at a global level, at an individual level, but also at a galactic level. Our planet is changing permanently. It's changing in ways that we can't quite see or comprehend yet, but we're feeling it. And what I was given, or what I was shown, is that we're actually receiving new dimensions onto the planet. It's really that big. The energy shift, what's been moving out, what's been moving off planet, there has been a lot of off planet energetics happening, and that has been an opening to these new downloads of dimensions. That's what they're showing me, and it's similar to looking at the northern lights, the aurora borealis, the energies that are swirling around us, that affect us, that interact with the Earth's magnetic poles, that interact with all the various energetics on the planet, and how it's all shifting. It's a very big changeover. And so here we are going about our daily lives, going about our daily priorities, shifting our lives, shifting our priorities, while in the backdrop, so to speak, there are really big shifts occurring for the planet and for all of humanity. It helps to understand what's happening at various levels, and this can help us remain clear in what is essential right now, what is true, and what matters to you at a soul level. So let's dive in here to these Pluto in Capricorn healing themes that are unfolding. So Pluto is the energy of evolution. It's how nothing is meant to stay the same. It is transformation, metamorphosis. It's how things are meant to regenerate, how there is always energy in motion, that death is a part of a natural experience, just as rebirth is as well. And similar to the human body dying and the soul leaving the physical body, it then goes somewhere else and then comes back into another incarnation, if that's what you believe, if that resonates with you. And it's this understanding that all energy is in a motion of rising consciousness. And it's a spiral. Our whole galaxy, the solar system, there's a lot of energies that exist in a spiral, and they are circulating at different speeds, at different tempos, at different levels of consciousness. And this is the spiral of consciousness that every soul chooses to participate in for their best and highest good. So the Pluto energy supports you in your soul's evolution of consciousness, helps you see the fullness of your energy, what you're here to experience, where you're learning, where you're growing. And then more specifically, Pluto brings up our relationship to power, specifically your own sense of empowerment and how that can be something you experience with other people through power dynamics, power struggles. Of course, there are healthy power dynamics in effect as well at times. It's understanding what your choices are, what you have control over. And Pluto supports our ability to follow that spiral of consciousness up higher, to see the bigger picture, to understand more of the soul's journey and the soul's experience. Pluto brings up our fears. It brings up where we have felt limited, where we're afraid perhaps to do something new, where we're afraid to let go, because there can be a fear of the unknown, a fear of uncertainty. So Pluto really pushes us and challenges us, so to speak, to go into these new energies in our soul's field, in our soul's energy. And I feel it can be like these fractals or these different energies that we haven't tapped into or connected to yet, but are present and are available should you choose to step into that energy or interact with it. In your natal astrology chart, your natal Pluto is how you chose to arrive on the planet at a certain time with a certain generation of people to transform an area of your life and an experience of energies on the planet. So for example, those born with Pluto in Virgo. Well, Virgo being the energy of service, work, what you do on a daily basis, how you show up, how you take care of your health, how you take care of your body. There's many areas of Virgo energies, of course. The Pluto in Virgo generation came here to change our relationships to these Virgo areas of life. Then you look at the Pluto in Libra generation, and these are the individuals who are here to change relationships, to change how relationships happen, partnerships, cooperation, giving and receiving. Then Pluto in Scorpio, this is the generation that's here to help us go deeper into our psyche, into sexuality, into intimacy and sharing, into the extremes of an experience, the emotional intensities of life. The Pluto in Sagittarius generation is here to transform belief systems, is here to go deeper into what is true and what is truth, perhaps to even look at what it means to really be on a voyage of learning and gaining knowledge throughout one's lifetime. And I know some of you came in before the Pluto in Virgo generation, so let me go back and say Pluto in Cancer. If you were born during the Pluto in Cancer generation, then you are here to really look at what is essential in the essence of family, in home base, in perhaps even like owning a home, into safety, into what it means to develop a home base. This is the energy too of individuals who perhaps experienced some types of wars, whether those were the world wars or other wars, that were essential in defining the homeland. And then for those who were born with Pluto in Leo, this is a very creative energy. This is entrepreneur. This is doing something on your own. This is feeling a strength in yourself to develop your own self-expression in this lifetime, to be a leader, and what that means for your generation and what that brings into humanity's experience. So every Pluto generation brings something new into the consciousness of humanity that essentially asks us to all evolve, to spiral up, to look at something in a new way, and it gets transformed permanently. So this is one way that you're connected to people in your generation, is that chances are you share this same Plutonic energy. But now in your natal astrology chart, the house placement of Pluto is where you experience this energy, where you experience the Pluto energies of transformation, soul growth, evolution, power dynamics, where you need to own your power. It's also the area of your life that can undergo a lot of changes. It's where you're really moving through some bigger energy cycles throughout your life. And then all of this becomes much more personal as Pluto interacts with other planets and points in your natal chart, and then through the transiting planets as well. So yes, astrology does get more complicated the more that you dive into it, but that's also where it gets more personal and individualized, because then you really see what is happening in your life and what your soul came in to learn. So the Pluto energy in your natal chart is a pinpoint of your soul's access of growth. Like I see it as this is the beginning point of where your soul wanted to begin its journey in this lifetime. So let's say you have Pluto in Libra, like you have Pluto in Libra at 1 degree, okay? And you were born and your Pluto in Libra is in the 9th house. and you came in looking to understand the world, your relationship with the world, your relationship with other people, other people's belief systems, right? So Pluto in Libra is always about relationships to others, and then helps you formulate and figure out, well, what's true for me? What is true from my sense of self and my own belief systems? And how do other people's belief systems transform what I believe? So it creates this conversation. So this place in your natal chart is where you are beginning the soul's growth in this lifetime. And then, of course, Pluto travels forward around your chart and then activates this energy that keeps going forward. Okay, so if you start at 1 degree, or let's say 0 degrees or 1 degree of Libra, then throughout your life, Pluto goes through all of Libra, and then it goes through all of Scorpio, all of Sagittarius, etc. And it is a story that's unfolding. And that story begins at your place, time, and location of birth. This is where the energy is very unique for each of us, okay? Because that story is unfolding in a very specific way, and it's how you're evolving in this lifetime. And also because transiting Pluto moves so slowly, it's only going to move through certain areas and sections of your chart in this lifetime. It's not going to move all the way around your chart. It's not going to interact with all of your planets or all of your houses. It's only going to move through a certain section of your natal chart. And the reason why is because this is where you are developing the power. It's the power dynamics, but it's also this spiral of consciousness in this lifetime. Pluto will probably only travel through 4 or 5 astrology signs in your lifetime. So that helps to put it in perspective of where you're going to be experiencing this Pluto energy and what is coming up for you more specifically. Now, at this time, we're all experiencing Pluto in Capricorn, and that began in 2008, and it will end in 2024. And we've been talking a lot about Capricorn and Pluto in this podcast. So what you want to identify is, where is Pluto in Capricorn in your natal chart right now? This is transiting Pluto in Capricorn. Where is it in terms of house location? Because that's where you've been receiving an intense dose of soul growth. And in 2020, when we have Saturn and Jupiter here in Capricorn, in the third decan of Capricorn all together, there is such an intense focus on being responsible around your own transformation, around being open to the learning, to the expansion, to what you need to shift permanently, to where you're really being held to a higher standard. And I feel this as the energy that is at the, I'm going to say that the higher end of a spiral, right? Where we go, if you envision a spiral, there's certain turns, you turn on a spiral. We've been going through a big turn on the spiral throughout 2020. And it's been forcing the turn. It's been requiring us to be very clear, to be very honest, to be very open to the fact that these changes have to happen. And they're happening for you individually, but then they're happening at a global level. And so we're each experiencing it. And what you are meant to understand is how vital this energy is in your soul growth. And the bigger picture of what that means, like the bigger picture of that soul growth, is part of what I wanted to cover in this topic. Because there's parts of your life that are changing permanently. You know it, you can't miss it, you've got it, you're like, yep, I've been on it all year, I understand, I'm really being forced to do this, it's bigger than me, it's a cycle of energy coming in that you can't control, you really can't harness it, it's just something you have to ride. And so what this pertains to, like what they've really been showing me, is how the energy goes really deep, and it goes deep into all these other lifetimes, all these other experiences in your energy field that have unresolved power dynamics, and specifically unresolved power dynamics with authorities, with the Capricorn archetypes. So this is any authority figure, in your world. This is a father or a father figure. This is someone who is in charge, a boss, a manager, a CEO, someone you answer to. The other energy with Capricorn is the energy of your own responsibility in operating and managing power. So you as a father, you as a manager, you as an authority figure, you as a police officer, you as the CEO, whatever authority you've been granted to work with, whatever power you have in the real world, in the 3D, in a professional environment, in your career, this is what is really coming up for all of us to work with and shift permanently, to transform what has been taken away, what has been abused, what has been denied, painful, bullying, mean, shaming, trauma, emotionally intense experiences, anything that has essentially triggered something that has taken you out of your own empowerment and out of your own sense of authority in this lifetime. And so the energy runs very deep, and they're showing me a well that goes down very, very deep, down into the earth, and it's a well of energy. It can also be a well of emotion. It can be a well of feeling in the dark, that sense of what's really happening here, what I'm meant to learn here, what am I supposed to understand. And part of the Plutonic energy, in fact, really the theme, is that it drags us into the unconscious and into the psyche, and it also pulls us into these other timelines and lifetimes where there's been unresolved energies. So this is what's happening individually for you based on where this transiting Pluto and Capricorn is showing up for you. But then it's also happening at a global level because of not only Pluto and Capricorn, but Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn, and how it's an energy shift on the planet that is permanently transforming the structures of this planet. So it's the hierarchy of corporations, it's the patriarchal systems, it's how there have been different power dynamics in place. It definitely relates to slavery, to abuse of other humans, to how others have been used for someone else's gain. You can look at this through different spans of time, through different countries, different cultures, different belief systems. It's how humans have used other humans for gain. And it's actually bigger than that. It's galactic. It isn't just how humans have used humans. It's how those of a reptilian energy or those of a darker energy have used humans for their own gain. And so this can certainly relate to the Anunnaki. This can relate to other ETs and extraterrestrials who want to essentially use humans and leave, who don't have humanity's best interest at heart. So this energy comes in from other energy fields, these other dimensions. But what I've been feeling, and I think, and I know, in fact, a number of you have felt the same, there's been a big energy shift in the past few months, especially, where a lot has been cleared off the planet. A lot of this dark energy that it feels reptilian, but it feels different than that as well. It's an energy that has been very abusive and controlling, and I feel like it's been removed. And so now we have these openings and downloads for us to consciously work with what we want to bring on to the planet. What do we want in terms of the Earth's evolution? What do we choose? And this is such a big question. What do we choose for humanity? Because there's been previous eras, previous centuries, where this question was never even considered, where it couldn't even be fathomed that we would get to choose what comes onto the planet, or what we want to experience, or what we require, what the expectations are. This is a pivotal time for us, especially as Capricorn energies are strong here in 2020, and then as we enter the age of Aquarius more fully as Jupiter and Saturn go into Aquarius in December 2020, and then Pluto goes into Aquarius in 2024. So we're really bringing in now new energies to formulate new visions, new requirements for the planet. And we do this at an individual level as well as a collective level. So it is your vision and what you actively call into the planet that matters, but it's also what you are transforming within yourself and what you are completing energetically at a soul level. Okay, so it's kind of like there's really these two energy fields that are working together. And again, the individual energy is that well, going into the well of your soul's experience. And what is coming up for you right now around any of these Capricorn archetypes, these Capricorn themes about power, control, responsibility, respect, integrity, achievement, ambition, and how these can all be very healthy, very invigorating, very satisfying areas of life. But often with Pluto, we first encounter what needs to die, what is no longer a fit, what is no longer an energetic fit, and it represents a lower level of consciousness. And again, this is where it can go into these past life experiences where you perhaps had a lot of problems with, let's say, authority figures. And I have found that those who identify as indigos are very much a part of this energy where you don't want to be told what to do. You don't want to be a part of a system. You want to do your own thing. You're here to trust your vision, to follow your creativity. You're here to break outside of the box. And this is just one way that the energy shows up. But there's other energy groups as well that are here to ensure that you're trusting your own authority, or that you're operating with a sense of empowerment that can be very new for you at a soul level. And these are the experiences that are powerfully changing you, that are transforming you forever. And that's part of how Pluto operates, is that it changes us in a way where there's no going back. There's no going back to the previous energy. There's no going back to the previous level of consciousness. There's no connection there. Like that connection can't even exist. It's way too difficult. It's too heavy. It's similar to the people that maybe you connected with or you hung out with, say, 15 years ago. If they were on a very different path from you, then chances are it can be very hard to relate to them. And that's just not based on a simple conversation or figuring out what you have in common. It's that the energy is too different. It's gone on different paths, on different trajectories, so there's no connection there anymore. And this is why we experience big life changes, relationship changes, career changes, family changes, anything big in your world, but even the changes within yourself, where you know you're on a different path, you know you've become a different person. And that is all part of this Pluto energy in our lives, where we're meant to step into more of ourselves than we ever thought we were. And that's where it gets really exciting. That's where it can be very encouraging and very empowering. That's where you can have things click for you around the truth of who you are, around what really matters to you in your life. There's this whole energy field that you step into that you can now access and activate, and it really invigorates you because you're also working with all that energy in other lifetimes that perhaps you did not tap into, that was also waiting for you. So let's say you have 17 lifetimes where you weren't able to access something that is innately you, and I'm going to relate it to career, where 17 lifetimes you had to be in servitude because of family responsibilities. You had to take care of something. You had to stay in a certain village. You had to practice a certain craft. You had to do something out of an obligation, but in the back of your mind, you always had a different passion. You always had something else that you wanted to focus on that felt like it was truly you. Well, this is a lifetime, and in fact, this is the span of time with Pluto and Capricorn where you can step into what is true for you professionally, where you step into that professional soul mission, that soul work that you love, and it's that passion for it where you realize, I can't believe I even make money or I get paid to do this because I just love it so much. You can call forth those energies from other lifetimes that were untapped and use that energy now in this lifetime to fully embrace who you are. So I hope this is making sense, because it is multiple levels of energy all coming together, all lining up, it's like a coherence. It's like it's like the multiple layers collapsing onto something, and it creates this new kaleidoscope of energies. And it feels really invigorating. It also feels like part of a bigger cycle, meaning you couldn't have done it earlier in your lifetime. And that's why it doesn't matter your age. It's not about our human age. It's about the energetics, the energy cycles, what is supported right now, what is the best way to use energy right now. So keep in mind that you don't want to evaluate your life based on your age in this way, or in any way really, because what you're really looking at is when you work with energetics and when you're really in alignment, you understand how everything has its time and place, and everything was an experience or a phase or a situation. It all serves a purpose. And in fact, at the soul's perspective, there is no time, there is no age, there is just the ongoing spiral of energy. So here we are at this spiral of consciousness that supports embracing all of you and all that you want to do and offer in the world, that further helps you develop your mastery. And that is essential right now, is to step into this mastery, because Pluto is supporting you with this, and Saturn and Jupiter in Capricorn are supporting you with this, all three being in the third decan of Capricorn, which is about mastery. The third decan of each astrological sign is where we apply and use what has been gained from the previous degrees. So we have this energy now that's really supporting what matters next, where you're going, what you have learned, what you have achieved, what you have come to understand about yourself, and now what are you going to do with it next? What calls to you next? And how are you using it responsibly, with respect for yourself, with integrity, and with an understanding of your own power? So I feel like this is what's being healed in us at a very deep level, because again, it's a new energy, or it's a new access point that maybe you couldn't get to. No, we couldn't get to. It just wasn't open. It was like that door was never open. That door was never even visible. But now it's visible, it's open, and it's absolutely time, which is why it's a very exciting time on the planet, because now the consciousness of the planet is changing and has shifted so much that, again, it comes back to being in a place of empowerment and really choosing what we want on the planet, but what we want individually. And I feel like this is going to open up even more. I feel like this is going to expand even more. And it's going to be something that we intentionally work with throughout this decade. It's a very big decade for light workers, starseeds, change agents, anyone who's awake, who knows what they're here to do, or who wants to know what they're here to do on the planet. All of this energy is wildly supported going forward, and it's going to be something that carries you forward as well, because there is that energy of being in a bigger wave that's moving us. It's unknown, uncharted territory that continues to restructure the energetics of the planet, that shifts the matrix energies, that shifts the dimensions on this planet. And I'm feeling like there's going to be more energies that leave the planet because they're being squeezed out. It's like this squeezing pressure, that there is not space for the density that used to thrive here. There's been too much happening within the human consciousness that has awakened to the bigger picture. So it's really quite exciting when we look at it from that perspective. I'm going to do a part 2 for you on this topic. I'm getting some more information that will be best suited for another episode, another show. So I'm going to do a part 2 on these Pluto and Capricorn healing themes, but I hope this episode painted a picture for you, gave you a bigger understanding, and perhaps more of an affirmation of what you've been moving through as well. And I will do a part 2 where we'll look at some more specifics, and I feel like there's going to be even some more channeled messages that come through around what is essential for light workers and starseeds to know, because you're being asked to stand very strongly in your light, in your power, and in the expression of all of your energy. And I'm seeing it as all 7 chakras being very bright, being very clear, being very solid, and it's really amazing. I mean, it's gorgeous energy, but it's going to have the experiences of transformation in this decade. So I'm going to leave it at that for today's show. And if you identify as an Indigo or you want to learn more about what that means, there is a book I recommend here called Indigo Adults, Understanding Who You Are and What You Can Become. And it specifically talks about what Indigo energy is. It relates to the energy that is strong in your aura. And it might be a very helpful book to understand your life, to understand how you are different, and to understand why you are needed at this time on the planet. So I'll put a link to the book below this podcast if you want to check it out. And I hope it supports you on your path and what you are understanding about yourself. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back on Wednesday for another weekly astrology show. And of course, I'll be back soon with another part 2 on this topic as well. If you are new to this podcast and to my work, you can find out more about me at mollymccord.online or over at consciouscoolchic.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you back here soon.